Thank you for joining me as we look at the introit for Sunday, August 30th. And this comes from Psalm 37. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. At the beginning of this psalm, it has an exhortation to delight in the Lord, to find happiness and contentedness in God. And this might seem very strange because in many ways we are on a journey to find something that makes us happy in life. Now, if you are currently on that journey, or if you've been on that journey, where did you look to find happiness? Now, oftentimes, happiness is connected to an action that we take. Once we meet certain goals, then that will make us happy. Once we achieve the desires of our hearts, then we will be content. Now, the picture we get in this psalm is that happiness and contentedness comes from God. Focus on God and his commands, and when our delight is rooted in God, then at that time our desires are transformed. They become in step with the desires of God. And in our following of Jesus, one thing that we can always count on is that God will provide for us. It is as the psalmist says here. He will give you the desires of your heart. There is always a temptation to try to take those desires for ourselves. But in our following of God, he knows what truly provides delight to us. And as we faithfully follow him, he will provide. However, there is another aspect here in this psalm that surrounds the idea of waiting. In my life, I have sometimes gotten into trouble when I am not patient and try to force something to happen. If I had just waited, then everything would have been fine. We live in a culture that creates a tension about waiting. We don't like waiting. We don't like waiting for the next new thing to entertain us. We don't like waiting because we're constantly faced with the tension of death. And if you have one life to live, then we should not wait. My generation, the millennials, have taken the brunt of this thought process. Now, my generation is oftentimes focused on having experiences when we are young because we don't want to wait until we are advanced in age to have an experience and to try to find something that might fulfill us. The logic behind it is to find the things that fulfill you and to do it quickly because you only have one life to live. However, for the follower of God, that tension is non-existent. As followers of God, this is not the only life that we have. We're promised a new life. We're promised eternal life. And we can confidently know that God will act, and he will act on our behalf. We can, just as the psalmist says, we can trust that to happen. And then we're told to stop worrying about those who do not follow God and are by the measure of the world successful. And today there's so much tension in this nation. We see the unrest and the acts of the protests that people are engaging in. And perhaps we wonder, why are they the ones who are getting all the attention? We can ask and wonder, why is it that God does not remove those who have no interest in following him? We can ask, why does God seemingly allow evil and those who are not faithful to have abundance? They seem like they have a pretty good life, God. Why not me? As followers of God, we have been given abundance. Items, wealth, even experiences, all those things will fade away. They're not lasting. It's God who gives eternal life, and that he has given to us. And as we see people spend so much time and effort acquiring stuff, we know that hope does not exist there. As we see people do everything in their power to cram as many experiences as they can into their lives before they die, we know that we are eternal. Wait for God. He will put everything right, but He will do it in His time. And yes, it is hard, especially when we see the chaos play out before us. This is hard when we see people place their hope in things that have no power. And as we struggle with this tension, let me echo the words of the psalmist. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Thank you for joining me.